In 2018, something extraordinary happened in Kenya. A massive crack suddenly tore across the land. It sliced through roads, split open farmland, and stretched for kilometers across the landscape. At first, people believed it was simply damage caused by heavy rain. But scientists soon realized something far more shocking. This fracture was not random. It was the visible sign of a gigantic force slowly tearing the African continent apart. A force deep beneath the Earth's surface, quietly stretching the ground beneath millions of people. But here is the real question. What happens if a continent keeps pulling apart? Could Africa actually split in two? And if it does, what would take its place? Because according to scientists, something astonishing may eventually happen here. A brand new ocean could be born. Well, that crack in Kenya may look dramatic, but it is only a tiny part of something far larger, much larger. Because it sits directly on top of one of the most remarkable geological structures on Earth, a gigantic system of fractures stretching across Eastern Africa. This enormous scar across the continent is known as the East African Rift. Seen from space, it looks like the Earth itself has been slowly torn open. The rift begins near the Red Sea in the north and stretches thousands of kilometers southward through Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, and Mozambique. More than 6,000 kilometers long. Across this vast region, the ground is slowly breaking apart. Not in seconds, not in years, but over immense stretches of time. To understand why this is happening, we need to look much deeper, far beneath the ground we stand on. At first glance, Earth seems solid and stable. But the surface of our planet is actually divided into enormous sections of rock called tectonic plates. And these plates are constantly moving. Very slowly, but relentlessly. Sometimes these plates crash into each other. When that happens, the land rises and mountain ranges are formed. Other times, plates slide past one another, triggering earthquakes. But in some places, something even more dramatic occurs. The plates begin to move away from each other. When that happens, the crust between them stretches. Tiny fractures begin to appear. Over thousands of years, those fractures widen. Eventually, the land between them begins to sink, forming vast valleys. This is exactly what is happening right now in East Africa. Africa sits on a massive tectonic plate. But scientists have discovered something extraordinary. This plate is slowly dividing into two separate pieces. One is called the Nubian plate. The other is known as the Somali plate. Between them lies the growing fracture of the East African Rift. These plates are drifting apart. But the surprising part is how slowly it happens. They are separating at only a few millimeters per year, about the same speed that human fingernails grow. So slow that no one would notice it during a lifetime. But over millions of years, even tiny movements can reshape entire continents. As the plates pull apart, the crust between them becomes thinner, weaker. Eventually, it begins to collapse, creating enormous valleys across the land. And some of those valleys are now filled with water. Some of the deepest lakes on Earth lie inside the East African Rift, including Lake Tanganyika and Lake Malawi. These are not ordinary lakes. They formed because the ground beneath them collapsed as the continent began to split. Lake Tanganyika alone reaches depths of more than 1,400 meters, making it one of the deepest freshwater lakes on the entire planet. These lakes reveal something remarkable. They show just how much the land has already sunk, and they offer a glimpse of what this region may eventually become. But the story does not end at the surface, because beneath these valleys, something even more powerful is happening. As the crust stretches apart, it becomes thinner, And that allows something from deep within the Earth to rise upward. Molten rock. Magma. This rising magma creates volcanoes throughout the Rift Valley. In fact, the region contains hundreds of volcanic structures. One of the most active is Mount Nyiragongo. Its lava flows are among the fastest on Earth. Nearby stands another giant, Mount Kilimanjaro, the tallest mountain in Africa. Although Kilimanjaro is currently dormant, its existence is a reminder of the powerful forces shaping this land. Earthquakes, volcanoes, deep valleys. All signs that the crust here is under immense tension. But where does this process ultimately lead? If the stretching of East Africa continues long enough, something extraordinary may happen. Eventually, the land inside the rift could sink so deeply that seawater begins to flood in. Water from the Red Sea could slowly flow southward into the valley, gradually filling the enormous gap. Once seawater enters the rift, the transformation could accelerate. Water erodes rock. It widens fractures and deepens the basin. Over millions of years, that valley could become something entirely new. An ocean. If the rift continues to widen, Eastern Africa may eventually separate from the rest of the continent. A massive strip of land including parts of Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, and Mozambique could slowly drift away. Between the two land masses, a brand new ocean would form. Future maps of Earth might show a narrow sea running through what is now the heart of Africa. A transformation that would take millions of years to fully unfold. But the earliest stages of that process have already begun. Right now. Beneath the feet of millions of people, the idea of continents breaking apart may sound unbelievable. But Earth has done this before. Around 300 million years ago, nearly all the planet's land was joined together in a single supercontinent called Pangaea. Over time, tectonic forces slowly tore that supercontinent apart. The fragments drifted away from each other, forming the continents we know today. Africa, South America, Asia, North America. Each one a piece of a much older world. And the same forces that broke apart Pangaea are still active today. Mountains continue to rise where plates collide. Oceans continue to widen where plates drift apart. And deep beneath our feet, the surface of our planet is constantly moving. The changes happening in East Africa are simply the latest chapter in a story billions of years in the making. Right now, the movements splitting Eastern Africa are almost impossible to notice. Just a few millimeters each year, a slow stretching of the land, tiny fractures forming, valleys gradually deepening. But given enough time, those tiny movements could reshape the entire region. Lakes may continue to expand, valleys may grow deeper, and eventually seawater could flood the rift, creating a brand new ocean where dry land once existed. Imagine standing here millions of years from now. Where there are farms today, there may be waves. Where valleys exist today, there may be deep ocean trenches. The world we know would look completely different. The earth beneath our feet feels permanent, unchanging. But the truth is very different. Our planet is constantly transforming. Continents drift, mountains rise, oceans form. And sometimes, the ground itself begins to tear apart. The crack that appeared in Kenya was only a glimpse of a much larger process. A slow geological force that may one day reshape an entire continent. Which raises a fascinating question. If Africa can slowly split apart, and a new ocean can form from that process, what other massive transformations might already be unfolding on our planet right now? Changes so slow we barely notice them, until suddenly the Earth itself begins to crack open. If you want to explore more of the incredible forces shaping our world, subscribe to Tehran, because the story of Earth is still being written, and the next chapter may already be beginning.